Episode 2 of the Bravo Lima podcast. I've said that it was all going to be about Tottenham tonight, about what's going to happen, what's happening with them, how we've got there. Let's get into it. Now, we'll all remember, those of us who are older than 10 will know that Tottenham have been challenging for years. They've been top 4, guaranteed at one point, top 5, top 6, top 2. You know, they've always been a very good team for a very, very long time. You know, you go back as far as, you know, the likes of Paul Robinson in goal, Ledley King. You know, they've had Robbie Keane, Jermaine Defoe, Peter Crouch, Luka Modric, Nico Granshaw. They've had a lot of players who, I wouldn't say title winning, but they are certainly players that would you expect to be in the top 4. Now, you look at what they've got now, and if I wasn't a football fan, I think, I'd struggle to name any or most. I also forgot to mention, of course, Gareth Bale when I was listing them off there. You know, but now you wouldn't have them. You wouldn't be able to pull them players out. You wouldn't be able to pull them players out of the hat. You wouldn't be able to name them at all. I don't think, unless you're a Tottenham fan, unless you're a football fan, you know, there's no household names in there. Now, personally, this is about Tottenham and slating their squad and whatever, because I don't necessarily think it's that. I mean, it doesn't help. You know, they're not the right sort of players. They're not got everything out. They don't get everything that they need. But, you know, again, I think it's got a lot to do with the change of ownership. I do, because it was owned by Daniel Levy, and, well, it wasn't owned by Daniel Levy, but it was run by Daniel Levy, and it was owned by, what's his name, Joe something, I do believe, but it was Daniel Levy that you saw. Daniel Levy, to me, he was the guy that was running the company. That was known as Tottenham. You know, he was the guy that was responsible for everything in the background, for the money being spent. All of a sudden, they lose him. And now that was looked at as an amazing step forward for Tottenham. You know, they'd always been the bridesmaid, never the bride type of club, under his ownership, under his stewardship, and that was it. They wanted him gone. He made some decisions that were awful, and it was time, and eventually he went. Now the club's been bought out. It's one of them. The last couple of seasons they've been absolutely awful. And now they're stuck. As far as I'm concerned, they're now stuck. They're 17th in the league. For a club that's gone from top 5 guaranteed for year upon year upon year to drop now to 17th in the league, it doesn't bear thinking about. It really doesn't at all. Do I think they'll go down? No. I don't think they will. I don't think they'll drop. I think that they will just about hold on. I think they'll be lucky. I think things are going to get worse even still before they get better. But I do think that they will hold on and stay in the league. Their future looks okay. Maybe. They've got a new manager in now. Roberto De Zerbi. He's a good manager. He's a good manager at smaller clubs, I would say. He was a good manager for Brighton. He was a good manager at Marseille. Brighton don't get me wrong, they've been a mainstay in the Premier League for a long time, but would it be the world's biggest shock if they ever went down? No, it wouldn't. So Brighton are never going to be challenging for the title. I don't believe they're ever going to play in the Champions League. I mean, they could do, but again, it would be perhaps a new ownership, whatever, that gets them there, a bit more money to spend. But certainly when De Zerbi was there, he was never gonna get there. He then went off to Marseille, like I say, and they've always been second, third, second or third best French club there, perhaps behind PSG and Lyon. Obviously, Lyon have dropped off, but certainly behind PSG. And he's gone and he's made a difference, I would say. A lot of controversy. Obviously, starters, signing Mason Greenwood. A lot of people know what happened there, but I won't touch on that, not today. But he's a controversial character. Do I think that he comes into this Tottenham team and makes a massive difference? No, I don't. I don't think he can right now. I think he comes in, he's going to keep him up, obviously. A lot of people are going to say, oh, well, it's not his responsibility. It's not, it won't impact him. It will. Of course it will. It'll impact him big time, because the thing is with that is he's now going to try and clean up everybody else's mess. Personally, I wouldn't have gone for him. I don't think that he's the type of manager they need. Not right now, at least. There were calls for the likes of Harry Redknapp to come back in. I think that would have been silly. I think Sean Dyche would have been the man. Just to steady the ship and have offered him a contract to the end of the season. No more. Nothing else. You then bring in your new manager. Bring your Serbian in at the start of the new season. Chuck a load of money his way and then fire Tottenham back up the league, get rid of some dead wood. But they've gone for it. Fair play. He's on a big contract by his own admission on Sky Sports the other day. Even if Tottenham get relegated, he won't be going. He can't. He's going to be staying there. He'll go down to the Championship with them. I don't think it'll happen, like I say, I don't. But they need something. They're going to need to really reevaluate that squad. They're going to need to, right from top to bottom. There's only one player in the Tottenham team that I'm going to touch on. One. That's Vicario, the goalkeeper. Awful player. Awful keeper. It sounds awful. It sounds bad, that, but and I know that you can't blame the goalkeeper, but it's one of the positions that really stand out for Tottenham for me, because Tottenham, despite times where they've not had a great midfield or not had a great fullback or not had a great striker or whatever, they've always had a class keeper, as far as I'm concerned. So they've gone from the likes of Hugo Lloris, Brad Friedel was there at one point, Paul Robinson, like I've already mentioned. They've gone through all these players, and now the sort of Vicario, and I don't think he's doing anything for him at all. The only other player I will mention is Mickey van der Ven, and if Tottenham do go down, I would love for him to come to Anfield and fill in alongside Van Dijk or be a replacement for Van Dijk. But anyway, guys, that's it. And like I say, these are very short episodes. We went through a long ones last time when I was doing it before. That's not what's going to happen. This episode will be posted on YouTube in the next couple of minutes. So wait for that to take off, wait for that to get bigger. But yeah, no, I just want to know what you guys think. A, are Tottenham going to go down this season? B, is he the right idea? I've not even gone into Igor Tudor yet in regards to, the gaffer before De Zerbi. That was an awful pick. So there's a lot to consider there. I've had a couple of comments in some of the videos, which is great already, which I've replied back to. So put your comments in on this one, see where we get. But for now, guys, that's it. Thank you for your time. I'm it.